Chapter 12. Presently, Father. My father is someone I looked up to and greatly respected. I thought of him as an ally of justice who wielded great power. As I grew older and became more aware, I realized that Father wasn't an ally of justice, but my respect did not diminish. Rather, it had only grown. For family, for those he must protect, he cast aside even his pride and kowtowed to a hated enemy. The same humility and generosity that let Father build strong relationships all over the world. By no means a trivial task. Not a fanatical ally of justice, but a realistic hard worker. And the results speak for themselves. Although I haven't seen it recently, nowadays in public, Father looks rather dignified and cool. Ha 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 ha! That was Father laughing. Standing up high atop a staircase above me, loudly laughing. He was imposing. I am the leader of Shadow Corps, Knight of the Moon's Shadow, Shadow Knight, the greatest villain of the land. He was laughing loudly and saying stupid things. It wasn't cool at all. After coming out of the bar, I followed the map around town. Shadow Corps' secret base. Seeing it written so plainly on the map made me lose the little motivation I had. The location was a warehouse in a corner of the warehouse district, a nondescript warehouse. After searching for a bit, I found a stairway to the basement. I found a teleportation circle after descending down the basement stairs. Taking the teleportation circle, I arrived at a separate stone building. A dark, gloomy, prison-like atmosphere with candlelight flickering. Was the atmosphere for the final battle a suggestion from Shisho? I wandered down the hallway, wondering. While walking down the hallway, my mood was complicated. What does Father want to say to me? Will he scold me or not? Some harsh words for certain. What would he say first? How harsh could it be? I couldn't imagine. I wanted to escape from here right now. Why am I here? Why did I come? With that thought, I walked, arriving at an audience hall-like place, a high ceiling supported by 6 tall pillars, lit by bonfires, making the room as bright as day. In the back of the room, a long set of stairs led to a large stone relief. A giant skull with protruding horns, a campy bad guy. In front of the relief was a stylish throne on which a man sat. Father. He's wearing a black mask and a black cloak, but there's no way I'd miss him. The grey robe, which can be seen through the cloak, was picked out for him by White Mama last year. And that armour underneath the robe. Impervious to physical attack below Saint rank, it also multiplies the user's physical and magical strength manyfold. It's called magical armour. Because of its high magic consumption, only one person in the world wore it, and that's why its bearer became known as Magic King, Rudeus Greyrat. Ha 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 ha! When he found me, he stood up and laughed loudly. I'm the leader of the Shadow Corps, Knight of the Moon's Shadow, Shadow Knight, the greatest villain of the land. The first words I was so nervous about. They're harsh words, all right. Too harsh. Too embarrassing. It sounds cool to say for yourself. Honestly, when I'm doing it myself, I think it's cool. But when I saw the father I respected so much doing it, well, it's hard to watch. My father is over 40 already. Yet I can feel my mental statue of a respected father shattering and falling. The father who stands beside Orsted and offers wise counsel. The father who travels the world on Orsted's behalf to parley with world powers. The father that scatters all enemies, stood against with a blast of magic. Such a statue of my father is crushed and turned into powder. And Shisho? He's okay. That's the kind of person he always was. Dad, please stop. I'm not your father, he said, flipping his cloak. Call me Mr. Shadow. No. Embarrassing, shameful. Why do I have to be treated like this? Why does the father that I respect want me to witness this? It must be my punishment. Because I'm unemployed. I didn't get married or work, living a rotten life. Because I bullied the weak in the name of justice. That's why father appeared like this? Dad. Haha, you must be the one rampaging in our territory lately. Moon Knight. I'm impressed that you managed to come this far. Dad, enough. Why are you hesitating? Haha, are you scared? Please, that's enough. Dad, I can't look anymore. It's painful to look at. Honestly, it's too embarrassing to watch. I know I was wrong, so please stop. My father stopped to listen to my words. Embarrassing? Yes, really. I can't handle it anymore. I see. Father drooped his shoulders lightly, then he removed his helmet, revealing my father underneath, Rudeus Greyrat. Perhaps there was a different face under that helmet. Even that ephemeral hope was gone. Why are you dressed like that? Because you were avoiding me. I thought I better hide my identity. Avoiding him. That was true. I have been hiding from father in the past year. Even now I want to run away, but for a different reason. If so, please disguise yourself better. But if you didn't notice, I'd be so sad I could throw up. So, is that halfway? Atypical for father. Sure, if Dad disguised yourself seriously, I might not have figured it out. Dad does have a talent for disguise. Father often had to wear disguises for work. I've never seen it personally, but I haven't heard of a failed disguise yet. So what happened to Shisho? I might as well ask first. To be honest, I expected father here, but I expected to have a confrontation with Shisho, Lightning, first before that. There's no reason to fight, but Shisho is the type that does that. Ha ha ha, Lightning! He's not here. Why? Also, please stop talking like that. He said he didn't want to disturb a heart-to-heart between father and son and refrained himself. Ah, is that so? So, Shisho intended to confront me initially, but after the daytime conversation we had, he felt it was enough. He probably thought I needed another point of view. After our talk, he knew he'd said all he needed to say. So, is there something to talk about after all this setup, right? Hearing that, father swallowed nervously and glanced around. Oh, well, Sieg, I know you don't like talking with me. The mothers told me too, that it's about time we... Well, no, I'm not blaming you. If you don't feel like it today, we can take a rain check. Dad. Yes? Please settle down a bit. I have always respected you. Really? Yes, since my childhood till now. He looked dumbfounded. That's not the look I expected. But the children of Greyrat House have always respected father. Bigger sis, bigger brother, little sis and small sis as well. Lara might have a slightly different feeling from respect, but she never looked down on father either. We all are a little different in our feelings, but we all respected father. Well, I was respected. Don't you have something to say? Oh, yeah, I do. How about we take it somewhere else? Father nodded in agreement. Sure, I know a good place. He flipped his cloak. Please stop. We ended up coming back to my original bar, the Drunk Goblin. I was fine with anything, but father settled on this place. He figured it's somewhere I'm familiar and comfortable with. The store was full, but when we entered the store, some of the goblins got frightened and skedaddled. They're probably afraid of father. If it wasn't for today, I would have been one of them. Father took the innermost seat. He ordered the nervous waiter to bring us some food and alcohol. Sieg, do you drink? I do, but I haven't drank since the graduation ceremony. Well, let's drink a little. If it gets hard to talk, maybe a little alcohol would help, yeah? Father is sitting before me. Just the two of us. It makes me nervous. I don't think I've ever talked to my father alone. Well, maybe a couple of times, but if I get cold feet now, then... Yet, Father seems to be nervous as well. He can't stay calm. He must have something difficult to say. As we sat silently across from each other, the food and ale arrived. "Well, a toast?" My father raised the cup and said, "What should we toast to?" "Anything is fine." "Then a toast to anything." We drank our ale and shotgunned the full cup. It tasted pretty awful since this bar only served cheap ale. The food and ale are pretty great here. I think Dad eats better food on a daily basis. Mama does make a delicious meal, but I rarely get to enjoy it because of my business trips. What about during the trip? I don't really enjoy cooking on a business trip. It's pretty awful. To Father, there's little difference between a royal banquet and bar grub for thugs. The best food is the meal you eat with your family, so this food is good too. Although it doesn't taste as good as Mama's, Father says as he ate. I toyed with the roasted beans on a fork, observing him. No choice, I cut to the chase. "So, why the farce?" "I want to talk to you." "So what about? I hope you'll get into the subject soon." When I said that, my father paused for a moment, and after a he settled on something and twisted it around. "Before that, I have something I want to hear from you. Not to talk, but listen." "So Dad has nothing to tell me?" "Well, I don't know yet until I hear your story." "Does that mean Father thought nothing of my current situation? Didn't marry Sariel, didn't work, loitered around town by day, fighting evil by night? That current situation?" "Because Dad expects nothing from me anymore?" I asked after making up my mind. And Father looked at me flabbergasted, as if he couldn't comprehend. Or maybe he wasn't listening seriously, busy shoving mouthfuls of roast beans instead. "Why would you think that?" "Why?" Did he want to hear it in my own words? "Because Dad wanted me to marry Sariel, right? That was the expectation." "I thought it was a good idea." My father chugged his ale. "Do you not want to hear why I refused to get married?" "Why not? Sariel seemed like a good girl. Big breasts, and being Her Majesty Ariel's daughter, she's probably pretty wild in the bed." "Dad!" "Oh, sorry, what? Why didn't you like that girl?" Reason for not getting married. I thought often about it in the past year. I wondered about it over and over. "I don't hate her. She's a good friend. But with Sariel, what should I say? We just don't hit it off. Our conversation tends to die when we're alone together, and staying silent gets painful too." Maybe if we get married, that pain would only continue, so it's hard to imagine getting married like that. Anyways, it's impossible marrying her. "Sounds like you're just looking for an excuse," my father said, still chewing on beans. "Probably. I'm just finding excuses in retrospect." "But isn't that also fine?" As I was lost in my thoughts, Father said, "No need to force yourself to get married." Simply, with a casual tone. "But didn't Dad want to strengthen his relationship with Azura Kingdom?" "Well, saying I don't would be a lie. Ariel Summer thought so too. Truth be told, if our families form a marriage alliance, it will increase our influence with the Azuran royal family. That would make work easier in the future. In that case, but," blocking my words, Father continued, "if you don't want to, you don't have to." As if it's a matter of course. "Rather, you should prioritize what you want to do instead. Ally of Justice, the Moon Knight. Isn't that fine too? Your mothers might get on your case about it, but Papa is on your side." Father spread his hands in exaggeration. "To be honest, when I first heard, I thought it was kind of childish, but everyone was like that at first. No one can do amazing things right from the start. Right now, it's just a small villain in town. With your abilities, it could be bigger and bigger, and eventually fight the greater evil." I wasn't thinking that far. There's no need to fight evil if I was just trying to be a good Samaritan. like helping people on the side of the road. Fighting evil, it's as Shisho said, it's just venting. No. No? Or do you want to keep peace nearby? Dad, no. I forced this out of my throat. I gave up on being an ally of justice. Yes, I have already given up. The day at the Azura Royal Academy, when I realised that I was borrowing from Dad. I'm not justice. I can't be justice. Yes, I wanted to become an ally of justice. I wanted to be Cheddar Man, but it's impossible. I already gave up. What I did was a mockery, just playing pretend. The trigger was simple. After graduating and coming home, while wandering around bored, I fought off some thugs that were pestering a Magic University student. She said thank you for helping her. She didn't know me, a freshman at Magic University. Having just arrived, she probably didn't even know Father. Sooner or later she would have heard about Father and me, but not yet. Even not knowing, she still said thank you to me. Despite being frightened of my creepy green hair, she still offered her thanks. Even if it's play pretend, there are still people who've been saved, so I think it's good. Well, Bastille got angry. Dad looked around nervously, then leaning closer, peering at me, he asked, "But what do you really want to do?" I can't answer. What I really want to do is contrary to what Dad wishes. I was silent for a while. I was not searching for words, I was just silent. Then he drank his ale and ordered refills. I drank too, copying him. No matter how much I drank, no words spilled out. I hadn't been drunk for a long time. When you came back from the Royal Academy, you seemed to be having a hard time back then. Dad, breaking the silence. My gaze was on his plate. Only a single bean left over. He rolled that bean between his fingertips, making a sound, neither crunchy nor mushy. With that sound as a backdrop, Dad continued. Being alive, you get hurt sometimes, making you want to withdraw into yourself. Even Papa has been there, many times, especially that one time, blaming the world for all that befalls you, regretting your own lack of ability. But now I'm where I am today, I think it's because of experiencing those episodes of regret. When I saw you hurt, I told your mothers that we should leave you alone for a while and let you be. The ale came. Father picked up the bean and put it in his mouth. Chewing loudly, he washed it down with ale. Dad seemed drunk already. Unlike me, Dad is not a strong drinker, but his mouth is looser than usual. And then you somehow started this ally of justice thing. I remembered how you used to idolize the allies of justice as a child, so I figured you found what you were looking for. But somehow, recently, well, I didn't see it personally, but when I listened to the people around you, well, you were having fun, but no longer putting effort into it. It was like you were going through the motions. People around me. The mothers, Lara, Lily, and George. Aside from Lara and George, the rest didn't know about the justice stuff, but they knew something was off, Dad said, finishing his ale. He took a big burp and sighed. So I came today to hear about your troubles. Not answers, but my worries. That was the real purpose for today? Well, couldn't you ask me to go out like normal? I thought you wouldn't be honest with me. You've always avoided me, and now you've reached an age where you too have worries that you can't share with your parents, right? So I set up a small play, a show of understanding that I appreciate what you're doing. I see, so that's why he did all of that? Dad was lost and unsure of how to approach me about my worries. His solution, after much consideration, an evil mastermind and 3 large glasses of ale. I was surprised to hear that you respected me. That made me happy. I was surprised that Dad would act like that. Sorry. I should have taken it more seriously. You might not see it, but Papa is pretty confident with my acting ability. I've once played the villain and hooked up a country knight and his princess. I remember Knight Leonard and the great evil magician Rudo, that story at Ronima, a nostalgic story, one of Dad's heroic tales. In order to hook up a knight and his princess, he acted as an evil magician, kidnapped the princess, and the knight came to her rescue. If Dad had acted on that level, I certainly wouldn't have recognised him. He would certainly have fooled me as well. And so, my father rolled the beans around, a force of habit. Your worries are that you want to do something else, right? Speaking with some difficulty, once in a while he'll sneak a peek at me. Despite seeing him in such a state, I still respect my father. Great, hard-working, strong, gentle. That's why, please be a bit more resolute, Dad. But why? The way Dad's acting now, it felt so familiar. Perhaps how I liked him the best. Yes. Can you tell me? Breathe in, breathe out. I can hear my heart racing with a hand to my chest. Until now, something I could never say out loud. Dad. Something I would never have told Dad. That I will now. I wanted to follow Pax, I said. Follow Pax? To the kingdom of the Dragon King. On graduation day, Pax asked if I would follow him. I wanted to, too. Maybe if I'd had a few days to think it over, I probably would have. When I finished, Dad opened his eyes wide. His mouth opened as if saying something, but after a brief pause, he asked calmly, "So why didn't you?" It would betray Dad. Dad wished to strengthen his relationship with the Azeran royal family, but Pax is from the kingdom of the Dragon King. He's also isolated there. If I went, we would have no more eligible bachelors left, and we would not be able to strengthen our connection with the Azeras. On the contrary, our relationship with the kingdom of the Dragon King will likely deteriorate instead, I said in one breath. Dad, his mouth ajar, a face of sadness, but it quickly returned to neutral. What? For that poor excuse? What poor excuse? What has been troubling me all this time, cast as a poor excuse, pisses me off a little. Well, see, sure, Papa and Her Majesty of Azra Kingdom are friends. In particular, it won't be a stretch to call White Mama and Her Majesty best friends. Certainly I hope we can get along like family. But that's it. That's it. Strengthening our bond with the Azeran royal family, increasing our voice within Azra Kingdom, those don't really matter. Don't matter. But just now, I did say it would be nice. But haven't I said before, put on the balance against your futures, things like strengthening bonds with Azra don't truly matter as much. Shocking. What truly matters? Then why have I been... But the thing about helping Pax is true. It will be a bit difficult in my position. Dad gave me a rough assessment of his concerns. He was deeply involved in Pax's father's death. Pax's guardian also requested for Dad to provide help if anything arose. However, interfering with the internal politics of a royal family is a challenge. Furthermore, the royal family of the Kingdom of the Dragon King doesn't treat him that poorly on a surface level. As proof, even granting him a title and a territory. But a title and a territory implies obligations and responsibilities. Thus, with their superficial obligations fulfilled, there's little Dad could protest publicly for. In Father's position, even offering financial support would have to formally go through the royal household. Through the royal household, after various interferences, nothing would come of it. Of course, we could provide money and resources on the down low, and in truth, we had in the past year. But compared to what it takes to develop a new territory, it's a drop in the bucket. Trying to provide support at a level to run a territory will surely be uncovered by the royal family. If found, there will be a major crack in the relationship with the Kingdom of the Dragon King built thus far. I wish I made better preparations before it happened, but it was all settled by then. I thought they'd content themselves with the destruction of the Shirone kingdom, but even now they'd rid themselves if someone's too troublesome. After his explanations, Dad looked at me. But it's difficult only because of my position. As a dear friend, if you rush over alone, on your own initiative, nobody can refuse. Actually, Sieg, if you go and help Pax, it would be a big help as well. Oh, I see. It's the same. For Dad, marrying Sariel or helping Pax, they're the same. Dad could have said help Pax, but Dad didn't. Just as he never said marry Sariel. As pater familias, he kept from burdening me. But is it okay? Really? I wished to confirm. Dad nodded, of course. But I can't give much public support. It's the same even for my son. Rather, if I went, won't the kingdom of the Dragon King make trouble with Dad? Even if I went on my own, I'm still a North King. Well, a little. No. Sieg, you don't have to mind that. He took another big swig of ale. He wiped his lip. No, faked wiping, to hide his lips in embarrassment. What Papa wants to protect isn't peace or relationships, but you. I couldn't appreciate the weight of those words, but the nuance was transmitted. Don't worry about Papa. It's okay, even if you become Papa's enemy. I don't want to be Dad's enemy. Well, becoming enemies would be too unfortunate. Let's avoid that at all costs. Still, Dad ate the last of his beans and emptied his ale. His face was already red. If you avoid doing what you wanted to do every day, and you heard about Pax's death one day, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You'll never be able to recover. That's more tragic than becoming enemies, because it means Papa failed to protect you. In short, Dad wants me to be free. And I am free. So, what is it? Do I go to Pax? It was okay from the beginning? I see. Dad, thank you. I said my thanks. Dad moved his chair with a rattle to sit beside me. He patted my back loudly. Before you go, make sure to say proper goodbyes to everyone. Yes. But for today, you drink with Papa. Because you keep avoiding me, Papa was feeling lonely. Yes. The conversation ended. It was exactly as Shisho said. Talking to that person would solve my worries. It was simple. More ale, please. In exchange, my father got completely wasted. On that day, Dad continued to drink ale merrily, getting drunk, praising how wonderfully cute the mothers are, singing strange songs, shouting loudly, touching a waitress's buttocks and getting admonished for it. But by the bar's closing time, he was hurling in front of the store. I offered detoxifying magic for him, but was refused. Dad was merry all the way home. With his arm around my shoulder, he sang Red-Faced, Moon Knight's theme song. Told to sing along, I sang as well, out loud, without regard for the neighbours. Dad that let loose is rather tacky and embarrassing. I never thought my father had this side to him. I probably wouldn't have respected him so if he'd always been like this. But why? Somehow it's the most I ever liked him. Totally uncool, so I don't know why either. Oh yes, Sieg. When we came home and stood in front of the gate, Dad called out to me. I'll answer your first question. He leaned over. With alcohol on his breath, Dad quietly said, Good luck. I expect much from you. Yes, I nodded, feeling refreshed.